Salem Surprise dropped a project a few days ago, and while it mostly consists of tracks that were recorded many years ago, they've only just now been officially released. Since I've considered myself a fan of Salem's music for a long time now, this felt like the right moment to make a video about their production. And besides them undoubtedly influencing many big artists today, I've always felt like they fly under the radar. But maybe that's a good thing, since their listeners aren't recruited through TikTok trends, but through organic growth. Share your opinion on the current state of Salem in the comments. Whatever, I'm drifting off topic. Let's get back to the purpose of the video. So here's a little preview of the beat I built inspired by Salem. I want to talk about the specific things that are essential to the dark atmosphere of Salem's music, and I'll show you while breaking down this beat. To start off, I asked myself what BPM range most of Red Dragon's tracks are in, which for me sits around 100 to 130 BPM. That's significantly slower than most of the rage music I also like to make. To get a dark feeling right away, I laid down some chords I found in Vital. I don't even know the key, I just went with what felt sad. With the chords laid down, I copied them over to two other tracks that also use pad sounds on their own. This way, we get a dance atmospheric bass that sets the mood without taking up too much space on its own. For accent reasons, I laid down this simple pattern using a Vox synth, which can also be found in Vital. I processed it with a delay followed by a bit crusher, which gives us the subtle distortion we need for a Salem type melody. To make it even more atmospheric, I used Valhalla Supermassive, which will get mentioned a lot throughout this video. Compared to my usual approach with reverbs and delays for this atmospheric Salem sound, I kept them really wet to drown the sounds in reverb, which gives us this unique atmosphere. I routed all the pad sounds into one mix bus and applied some tremolo to add extra movement to the pad section. The next really important thing for this Salem style is the harsh detuned sounding lead voices. I've got a simple trick for how you can transform any lead into one that sounds like Salem would use it. To demonstrate this, let's take a look at the lead I used, which again is one from Vital. By simply routing one of the LFOs to the tune parameter of the oscillator, we get this vibrato effect, which can also be described as detuning. You can adjust the amount of vibrato depending on how harsh you want your lead to sound. Notice the difference between the LFO being enabled and disabled. To enhance the atmosphere of the lead, I again used a delay in combination with a bit crusher to keep the harshness at its peak. The same little trick was used with these synth chords I laid down to accentuate the drop and intro section. By routing the LFO to the tune parameter, we once again elevate the sound into another atmospheric sphere. A little reverb in the form of Valhalla Supermassive completes this wall of synth, which on its own sounds super nostalgic. To change things up from time to time, I laid down another lead that plays a less hectic pattern, again using the vibrato method inside Vital as well as the echo and bit crusher combination. For the intro section, I also added two other melody elements that build up to the epic synth I mentioned earlier. There's this one, which on its own sounds weird and not musical at all, but in context adds the texture we needed. And there's the other one, which acts kind of like a riser. I achieved that by using multiple automations. For example, this one controls the reverb amount of Valhalla Supermassive, and this one controls the high cut of the EQ to make it rise over time. Now there's just one melodic element left to talk about, which is these choir chords I laid down using Triton Extreme. By using distortion, I boosted the initially lush sounding choir and used Shaperbox to make it rise from time to time. This is achieved by using this filter preset in combination with a drive and reverb preset. Together, these create this wave-like structure that complements the second lead voice perfectly. Let's move on to the kick, which plays a crucial role in giving Salem's music its signature punch. I just used a heavier trap kick, which I boosted with this free transient shaper and a small amount of compression. To make it punch through the mix, there is one essential thing we need to do: sidechain the kick to the melody and bass. For this reason, I created a mix bus for all the melody elements and put a compactor on it. Inside the compactor, I selected the kick as our sidechain source and tweaked the settings until the melody ducks down just for the moment the kick plays. This way, we secure the impact of the kick inside the mix. Listen to the difference this makes. The same applies to the two sub-basses I laid down for this beat. The sub-bass is again one of the most important things to include when thinking about the Salem signature sound. I used this warm one for the first part of the drop and kept it completely unprocessed, just how it came out of Vital. The second one has more mid-range presence and therefore needed some EQ adjustments to keep it from clashing with the melody. Both sub-basses got routed into the same mix bus, on which I again applied a compactor in sidechain mode with the kick as the input. This way our kick gets the room it deserves every time it plays. Now let's get to the drums. I started by laying down two different snare patterns. The first one is pretty standard with a bounce hit here and there. The second one changes together with the kick pattern to break up the rhythm we are used to. This is exactly the variation we need to make it feel similar to Salem, who also like to switch up their drum bounce from time to time within the same track. Underneath the snare I layered this metallic sounding percussion and brought down the volume to the point where it no longer competes with the main snare. With some reverb and bit crushing applied, the percussion gains the width it needs to accentuate the main snare. Another thing I did to bring more variation into the drum was duplicating the main snare track and deleting all hits except one, which I moved to a spot where a bounce snare hit would usually take place. By applying a longer reverb in combination with a tremolo effect, we get this little ear candy moment. Besides that, I laid down two different hi-hat patterns that change together with the bass, kick and snare patterns. The first one follows a 1/8 rhythm with some rolls here and there, while the other one consists of a 1/16 rhythm. The drums are completed by this crash that comes in from time to time to further enhance the rhythm. For the effect section, I decided to use this Evil Love sample, which in my opinion matches the dark vibe we are going for really well. Together with a scream sound that kind of acts like a riser, we included the horror movie style effects Salem sometimes uses. But besides the horror sounds, I also used more common effects like this impact sound or this clap riser. With all these drum and effect sounds assembled, I routed all of them into an effect bus, on which I applied a small amount of reverb to give the drums some extra room. With this reverb, I kept the mix knob very subtle to preserve the punch of the drums. And with that, the beat was finished. Of course, I still had to do some mixing and mastering too, but that would go beyond the scope of this video. If you are interested in a deeper dive into my mixing technique, let me know in the comments. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you did, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.